Welcome back to the Fourth Phase podcast. I'm JJ Parma, here with my swim buddy and wife, Kristel. Today we're going somewhere most couples avoid. How to support your partner's self-care without the guilt. Because if one of us is running on empty, the whole mission falls apart. Let's get into it. Yes. I'm so excited. I get chills. This is a topic near and dear to my heart. I'm so excited. Guys, get yourself a Topo Chico. Ladies, get yourself some tea. Sit down. Enjoy this one because everybody struggles with this. Babe, we talk about this all the time. This is not so much directly, but we get into this I guess it's part of our life. And one of us is good at it. One of us struggles with it. And there's the laugh.
Who's the good one at it?
Well, I think I'm the good one at it. You've told me I'm the good one at it. But this is important because I think a lot of couples struggle with this particular topic. And I think people just misjudge, misunderstand. They interpret self-care for guilt. And so, that is the question. So what is self-guilt when it comes to self-care? How do you define it?
Back when I was younger, I think I struggled with this a lot. There's a cycle that you go into, and it's victim, martyr, hero. So I'm the victim, I have to do everything. I don't take any time for myself. Then you become the martyr, and it's you're sacrificing yourself for everyone, and then that makes you the hero. And so for me, I think when I was younger, I found myself in that loop where I was constantly over-giving of myself and not taking care of myself. So then I would be resentful toward everyone. I don't think I do that anymore because I don't feel that feeling of resentment towards people for not slowing down. I think that our lives are very full. And so I do a lot, but I don't feel like I'm resentful. I just feel like I'm not taking the time that I could be taking for me. And I think that there's a lot of people that find themselves in that cycle where they're just doing a lot and they're not taking the time that they need to take care of themselves. Whereas I feel like you've been very good at that. You're regimented about the time you go to bed, the supplements that you take, waking up and working out, and all of those things. Whereas I always put myself last, but I don't see it in a guilt type of way. I think I just haven't implemented things that I should be doing for me. And I think a lot of that probably stems back to just feeling like I'm already doing so much and it feels like it's one more thing to do. So I probably don't do as good as I could in that area. But I think it's great because...
Yeah, that's great. You have just literally defined the female side of this whole thing. You have, and we're gonna peel back the layers here. You define it. Self-care should never, ever, ever be selfish. Okay? You can't show up with a half-empty tank. And I think we use that little self-care and we feel exactly what you said. We feel resentment, we feel guilt, and we feel selfish because we're not showing up for others. And this is the problem. And this is where a lot of couples need to get this right. So, I mean, just in the SEAL teams alone, right? The swim buddy, if it's swim buddy shows up with his tank half full, that's going to be mission failure. You're useless to your partner. You don't go drowning with them. You finish the mission with them. And if your tank's not full, you can't finish the mission. Can you, there's two sides to this story. And you brought it up kind of in your analogy with your cycle. There's the martyr, right? And then there's the pleaser or the requester, however you want to put it. There's two sides to this. The martyr says to themselves, I'm going to give and give and give until I can give no more. And then I'm going to explode and my tank's empty. And so they go down with the ship. They choose not to take care of themselves at the expense of others. Then there's the other person, the requester, the pleaser, always asking for permission. Which one are you? Let's define the problem first. What is self-guilt?
Well, I mean, I think it's self-explanatory. Somebody that feels guilty that they can't take the time that they need to. I don't think I fall into that category, though. That's what I'm trying to say is that I think back in the day, I think there was definitely a part of me that felt resentment, but I don't feel like that today. So that's why when we said, let's talk about this, I'm very clear that you're good at that and that that's an area where I'm not good at. But I don't walk around feeling resentment towards. There's a lot of things that I do. We have a full life. We both work full-time jobs. We have a full house with children. We have a passion project. We have a podcast. Like we have a lot going on. So there's definitely things that I do that fill my cup in other ways. But as far as self-care, where I'm stopping and taking care of myself and cutting off from responsibility, cutting off from projects, I don't do that as much as I should. So when you say pleaser, do I think I fall into a category where I'm trying to please other people?
No, we need to ask permission, right? The pleaser goes, honey, may I do this? Honey, may I? And
yeah, but see, I don't think I need to ask you for permission to do anything. So I'm not a pleaser, but I'm not a martyr either. Right. That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's an either or.
I completely disagree with you. I think you're a martyr. You go and go and go.
Yeah, but you're a martyr. You're only a martyr if you have a mentality that says, like, woe is me, poor me. I don't have that mentality. That's why I'm saying that there's activities that I do that fill my cup in other ways. So it's like whether we're building something together or I don't know, I'm cleaning the house, which is crazy because I actually do get a lot of joy out of having a clean home. I'm not walking around with a mentality of I can't stand everyone around me. Like there's times where I feel frustrated for sure if I'm the only one doing things and I'm not getting help when I ask for it, whether it's kids at home, whatever. But beyond that, it's not I'm like, poor me. I really don't feel like that. I can say that I did identify with that at one point, but now I don't. If I need help, I ask for it. And that's the difference. A martyr walks around saying,
I'm going to stay focused on the topic. The martyr doesn't mean martyr in this instance, in this context, means that you're going down without doing self-care because you give your time and everything you have to others around you, your job, your kids, your husband, you do all this stuff and you're not making self-time and you're going to explode. Like you're just going to, and this is you, like you've run yourself into the ground, so exhausted at the end of the day, seeing it because you give all your time. And I don't think you take enough time to take care of yourself. Let's
I'm not going to disagree with that.
Let me just ask a simple question.
Okay.
When was the last time you took a full day without resentment and without guilt, a full day and did something for you? When was the last time?
Well, I mean, not that long ago. We did it like 2 weekends ago where we went and had brunch. Yeah, but that is like, I can't really think of what I want to do. My joy is with my family. My joy is with my children. My joy
This isn't about joy. This is about self-care.
Right. But
that really doesn't, it may fill your emotional tank.
But if you think about it, so tell me then, what would that look like to you? Because if I'm saying that for me, self-care is me spending time with people that I love, and that's me taking time for me, because normally I'd be busy. I'd be cutting the grass and like doing something on my computer. Like I would be doing things all day long. But if we're talking a day where I just pause and I'm not doing things for other people, then to me, that is a day of self-care, because what else would I be doing in that time?
What do you get? What self-care are you getting from that?
For me, it's not having to do something. I'm not obligated to do something for the advancement of whether it be our home or our business or financially or whatever it be. To me, that is though.
Yeah, but
to
it's
me,
not.
But who are you to define what self-care is?
Because
to
self-care affects you and you only.
But this
is why I'm talking about the selfish piece of it. Is self-care should not be selfish. It should be mandatory.
But see, here's where I'm going to disagree with you. And I think that this is an important distinction to make, because to you, self-care is working out. To you, it's being very regimented about things. And I think that that's great, right? And there's a lot of people that can identify with that. But a lot of times when you want me to work out, you flip it and you will say, you need to work out, you need to do this. And it feels like a chore. It doesn't feel like self-care to me. Self-care looks like something different to me than it does to you. As far as perhaps like taking supplements and going to bed earlier, doing things like that, there's definitely healthier things that I could do. There's no question about it, that I could do for myself. But just because self-care looks like something to you doesn't necessarily mean that it's the same for me. That fills my cup. A day where we go for brunch and don't have anything done and end up staying at the same restaurant for lunch and then dinner and do nothing. And there's nowhere I need to be, nothing I need to do. To me, that does fill my cup. And to me, that is a form of self-care. So I think that it's self-care is going to look like different things to different people. It's not always going to be the same thing. And I think that that's where we have to be able to understand what that is for us.
So let's dig deeper on that. Let's define self-care. You define it as very generic terms. I think that self-care has to have an effect, a positive effect on your physical being, And so the way I see it is there's three categories for self-care. There's the appearance piece, and this probably matters more to women, although welcome to the year 2026 where men may also apply. But that's the appearance thing. Hair, nails, you like to get a pedicure, Botox, hopefully not. But that's a thing. And so that's the appearance piece of it. Then there's the physical piece of it, the actual working out, the movement piece. I want to put that all together because that's all physical care. Then there's the part you kind of touched on. I see it as category number 3. That is the emotional tank, right? So even as much as meditation, yoga, even though that can be physical as well, but there's a lot of mental piece to that. Journaling, all this stuff, that's the emotional piece. So there's various types of self-care. Now I'm hesitant. Like I would argue the appearance piece doesn't really do anything for your physical being. It may give you a little bit of confidence. I have my own little take on that. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but I think that if physically, like here, for instance, if there's someone struggling with their weight, and this is just kind of an off-topic thing. If there's someone struggling with their weight, they obviously are struggling with their weight, but they go spend $500 on their hair, $600 on their nails. Are they really doing themselves justice? Their health is out of whack.
Hold on a second. I agree. And the reason I think it's important to say this is that everything has to start somewhere. So that person that doesn't take care of themselves, if somebody has let themselves go and they've put on a lot of weight, let's say that this person at one point did take very good care of themselves and something happened and now all of a sudden they find themselves not even feeling like they recognize themselves. Sometimes something like that is the catalyst, the thing that they need that makes them feel how they used to feel all over again. So getting their hair done, doing something superficial, it doesn't mean you stay at that level. But I think that if somebody can do something like that, it can move them into the direction where it inspires them to maybe go for a walk, hit the gym, start eating healthier, and start looking at all those things. I think self-care, if you're going to break it down into 3 categories, I think that self-care it's a combination of those things. It's not any one of those things, because you can take very good care of yourself physically and then not work out and then not be have your emotional tank be drained and you're not taking care of yourself. You can work out physically and have no emotional awareness to you and not take care of your physical appearance, but you're healthy, but you're still missing, right? And I think that can hit in each category. So to me, if we're going to talk in terms of 3 categories, I think it's important to observe all of them, right? And so if we want to bring it back to, the further we take this, bring it back to my situation. If we've talked about the fact we have 8 kids between the 2 of us, we have a lot going on all the time. And for me, rest is really important. Self-care to me is rest. So when I take time to not have other people dependent on me and I'm not feeling like I have to do something in my home, to me, that is like the highest form of self-care I can give myself, is not putting any demands on myself to do anything, which is probably why I give a lot of pushback when it comes to doing one more thing. When somebody says to me, you need to do this for self-care, automatically it's like, I don't want to do anything else. And so that's why I think that it's a little bit deeper than just like, hey, take these vitamins, work out 50 minutes a day, go for a walk and whatever else, I think that it's something that we need to look at and not oversimplify and really look at what it is that we need as an individual.
What is it when you're actually doing when you rest? Let's just say at the end of the day, you sit down, you've been working all day, haven't moved from your desk, don't even take a lunch. I've seen you. It's not healthy. But we get there. People, there's a lot of people. So this is great because there's a lot of people that use that same excuse. It's not even an excuse. It's some people live that life. They're in a cubicle. They sit there all day. Then you say, okay, rest. When you actually rest, which I rarely see, because you're go, 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 go. Because if you're not working, you're cleaning. If you're not cleaning, you're walking the dog. If you're not walking the dog, you're tending to children. If you're not tending, and then time runs out. So when you rest, let's just say you get some rest. What is it that you're doing?
Just taking a break. There's no
Are
demands.
you on your phone? Are you scrolling?
I guess it depends, right? Like, and I feel like it's not somebody else's place. As long as an individual is honest with themselves about what it is that they need and looking at, is there healthier ways to give myself what it is that I need? I'm not saying that sitting on a phone and scrolling is a like healthy way.
I'm going to jump in and argue that's not self-care.
Well, I'm just saying though that sometimes at the end of the day, when you have nothing else and you haven't been on your phone all day and you want to just sit and pick up your phone and you want to catch up on news or whatever it is, then that's fine. If you're going to sit like, and I guess for me, it's like, I feel like not that you're judging it, but you have to be able to listen to what somebody else is saying and realize that when somebody is trying to get to a place of self-care and taking care of themselves, it's a journey. It's not, you can't go like point A to point Z. There are like a number of things that have to happen in between. Implementing a new behavior, no matter what it is, takes time. So if the intention is to get to a place where you want to be able to disconnect disconnect completely, be in nature, meditating. Let's say that's the ultimate goal, but you're used to being at your desk, not taking a break, never doing anything. Sometimes it takes time to get to that place. And so I think that if somebody can recognize, okay, like I know I need to take time for myself. What does that look like? What's my ultimate goal? What does that look like for me? At the end of the day, if I've had a long day, sometimes just sitting and like picking up my phone and like looking at something is what I want to do. It doesn't mean that I couldn't be doing something else at that time, but I just don't think it's fair to say that that is always bad or this is always good. There's other ways that, sometimes it's going for a walk. Sometimes it's going out for brunch. Sometimes it's just sitting and doing nothing. Sometimes it's just going outside. Like, it's going to change. So I don't know.
I think you're confusing self-care with working out. Like that's time. So the three things I mentioned, mental is probably the most under-mentioned and undervalued piece of this. I think that's very important, but you're not breaking out during the day and meditating. And this isn't just about you. This is everybody. So yeah, I don't think picking up a phone and checking the news, like, this is the point of this show. Like, people are distracted as hell. We're worried about politics. We're worried about Iran and the Strait of Hormuz and this, and none of it we can affect. We have 0.0 control over any of it.
Yeah,
we can go to the voting box. Okay, we could talk about that on another show. That's it. We have no control. We're all guilty of it. We all like to see what's going on social media, but that's why the show was developed. Like, I want people to tune in and real. What can you do today? This is the fourth phase. What can you do today? Are you living in the present? Self-care is critical. Self-care does not mean, in my case, working out is, okay, I want to be here. I want to be at my fullest potential for you, for our children, and for life, to be present. I'm no good to you, broken. That is my motivation, right? Discipline is greater than motivation, trumps it all day long. So I have the discipline because I know that I have an end state. My end state is be in the best physical conditioning I can be in, because physical conditioning and mental conditioning for me, a male, my age, that's the priority.
Okay.
Because if I'm not showing up 100%, you're not getting the full man that you need.
So the physical, I'll agree with you. Physical, you get 100% in physical. What are you doing to check the mental and emotional boxes?
Yeah, and this is where I fail. Okay.
But see, this is the thing. This is what I'm trying to say is that
that's the whole point
there's different categories. For me, I would say at the phase of life that I'm at right now, I've done a lot of self-reflection. I live my life in a meditative state. I'm not saying I sit and meditate all day long, but I think that self-awareness, when you become an individual that lives in a state of self-awareness and you're constantly learning from situations and you're taking in life as it's happening and paying attention to your actions and how your actions affect others, I mean, that can feel exhausting, but at the end of the day, you're hitting those emotional needs because you're acknowledging what you need as life is happening. So I think that when it comes to, if we're going to talk about like physical care, I think I take pretty good care of myself. I get up, I get ready for work. I'm getting dressed appropriately. I'm prepared for work. So the physical aspect, fine, whatever. Working out, could I work out more? Absolutely. I think that that is a part, like you've expressed it, my kids have expressed it. We want you to live a long time. You need to work out more. But again, to me, the working out with a life that's full feels like a chore. And so I think for me, the reason that this episode is important is how do I and how do people that are like me find a way to connect with the reason that I should be working out? Because I know that at the end of the day, it's my physical health, it is longevity, it's important. It's one of the pillars of self-care. So my weakest point, I would say, is the working out aspect of it. But then again, it's like what you're capable of doing when you go to work out versus what I'm capable of doing are not the same thing. And so it automatically is a feeling of defeat for me when it's like, you're like, hey, come work out with me because your level is not my level. And so for me, I want to go for a walk. I want to do something low impact. I want to do something that's enjoyable.
Which is fantastic, by the way. Absolutely fantastic. This is my point. People get like the workout thing. We've discussed it before. The fitness industry has ruined it for everybody. It's completely ruined. What's in your face about fitness? It's movement. Movement is the key. Movement. So for me, back to your point. So I actually don't fail completely at the mental part of this, and I think about this all the time. When I'm working out, I'm actually coming up with ideas for the podcast, thinking about work, thinking about the kids, thinking about you. I am in a meditative state actually when I work out. I'm checking 2 blocks at once. Can most people do that? I think a lot of it. You've heard of walking meditation. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've ever do that too. So when I go for a walk, when I'm running, that's definitely a meditative state for me. You just music or no music. And I know you hate when I wear AirPods, and I'm against them too, but until they come up with something better so I can listen. But actually, I don't even listen to the music. Even when I have it on, I am in a meditative state. It's checking 2 blocks at once, right? I'm moving. I'm checking that mental block. I think a lot of people get there when they're working out. But again, on a daily basis, do you think you're regular about your self-care? Like, I know you said you walk around you live in a meditative state, or you're always, self-aware, which is true because you are the most emotionally intelligent person I've ever met. And so, but is that, are you actually gaining and you're growing from that? Is that checking your full box where you think that you're showing up fully because you live in that state? That's an interesting question.
Am I showing up fully? Well, see, as you're asking these questions and you're sharing, I'm trying to think of how I live my life and what self-care actually looks like. And I think
that's what I'm trying to define.
But this is the thing. I think that in order to get to the root of what self-care is for each of us, it's not going to be the same thing. It is not the same thing. You can if I told you to go do what I want to do, it wouldn't be self-care. Because as I was preparing for this episode and thinking about what self-care looks like to me, self-care would be taking a bath. So it'd be running a bath.
Beautiful.
Okay.
I think that's meditative too.
But so it would be taking a bath. I've never heard you say once, like maybe once in our relationship, you're like, I think I might take a bath. Like that's just not your thing, right? For me, self-care would be going and getting a massage.
100%.
I enjoy doing that.
That's right.
Self-care also for me would be just like going and sitting on the beach. We do that when we have brunch. We go sit and we have brunch on the beach.
I'm saying self-care is you.
No,
it's
but
taking
I'm
your
just saying,
time to recharge.
But this is what I'm asking you to hear me say is that to me, self-care is not the same for you. To me, self-care are those moments when I'm not required to do anything. And so in order to understand what self-care is, I think each one of us needs to be honest with ourselves about what that looks like. And so when I sat down and wrote, like, what is self-care to me? Self-care to me is literally what I just said. It's taking time for me to take a bath, get a massage, not have any requirements of me on a weekend. So if that means...
Beautiful. When was the last time you did that?
I just said we did that.
You.
You're not listening to me.
Just tell me, when was the last time alone you did bath, massage?
But this is my thing. Why would I want to go sit by myself at a restaurant and have brunch?
Okay, restaurant and brunch. Forget that.
No,
That's
but
you and I enjoying couples time together.
Yes, but this is that
self-care.
Self-care is when you're taking care of yourself. Self-care does not always mean you're alone. Self-care does not always mean you're alone. It means you're doing what you need to for you. That's my definition of self-care. Self-care is not necessarily nobody is around me, because your ski trips that you go on with all your friends, would you say that is self-care?
Yes, it is.
So is it self-care
On the mental, in the mental
But hold on a
bucket.
second. Is it only self-care when you're alone on that ski trip, or is it self-care for you when you're with your friends?
No, it's self-care. Well, both, because skiing is a relatively solo sport.
Yeah, but you answered my question,
Right.
is that you can have other people around and be
Right.
engaged in a form of self-care. So when you and I
Yes,
go
it's the
out,
social part, mental part of it.
okay, so but when you and I go out, or if I go out do something with the kids and we have like, I don't know, we go on an adventure exploring something together, to me, that is a form of self-care, because I'm removing obligation from my life and I'm saying like, I'm going to do something that I want to do. I'm letting go of any feeling that I have to be somewhere, do something. I'm taking time for me to do something I want to do. To me, that is self-care. That may not be for everybody. Maybe somebody else has a very different definition of what self-care
Sure.
is. But for me, self-care is doing what I want to do when I want to do it, because I feel that I need it. And so could I do more of that? I'm sure I could. Is there ways that I could introduce self-care in my day better? Like, you're very good at taking breaks and stopping and going for a walk in the middle of the day or doing things like that. I don't do that as much. Could I perhaps integrate it in some way? Sure. But again, I don't like, that doesn't feel like something I want to do in the middle of my day. If I'm working,
Do you feel guilt?
it's not a guilt feeling. It's not a guilt feeling. Like, if I really truly had I would tell you like, yeah, I feel guilty about this. I don't feel guilty. It just doesn't feel like something I want to do. When I'm the type of person that when I'm engaged in something, I go 100% in what I'm doing. I don't like to break whatever it is that I'm focused on to focus on something else. And so if I'm working, it's like I work and then I finish working and then I move that to the side and then I focus on something else. So for me, I don't think that it's a guilt thing. I just think that it's not something that I feel like I want to do. I have to want to do it. And I think probably to my detriment, I probably don't do things that could potentially be good for me because it feels like another thing to do. And so it's like, how do I integrate? How do I become aware of the things that would be healthy for me and not feel resentment about wanting to do things? Like the workout thing is a great example. There is such a deep sense of resentment in me about working out because I feel like it's an obligation. I feel like you should work out. Whenever somebody says to me like, Mom, you need to work out, babe, you should work out, I'm like, I don't want to work out. It's one more thing. It's one more thing to do. So it's removed the joy aspect of it. Whereas I used to love doing that. I used to love working out, but I had less responsibility on me at that time. So I could focus more on that. And now I just feel like intensity has picked up. There's a lot more happening. And so it just feels like another thing to do. And so that's where that hard part is. I have to stop in the moment. This morning when you said, babe, let's work out, I was like, oh, I don't want to do it. And I was like, no, you need to do
I was totally
this.
expecting you to say no, by the way. And because I always ask you, so super proud. Like I had we had a great workout this morning. Crushed a Metcon. That was great.
But yeah, I knew that was something that I know for myself. It's something that I need to do more for me, for my health. I know that I'm at this age right now where I'm still young enough, but I know that there's going to be a point where I'm going to turn a corner and I'm not going to have the same like natural ability to do things that I have up until present. And so I want to develop healthier habits for myself around working out. That's important to me, but I have to do it on my terms and I have to understand what that looks like for me, because the moment it feels like an obligation, it loses its joy and I don't want to do it. So it is a form of self-care, but it's there's a lot happening. It's not.
What about for couples in general? Because that's what this is actually about. Because I think there's a lot of resentment. Either people resent the fact that their partner goes and works out, or the partner themselves feels guilty. What about that? Because I think that's where a lot of couples have a lot of strain, and I've seen it before. And I'm not talking about so guys, like golf is not self-care. I guess
That's not fair to say,
I guess it
though.
is occasionally, but the guys that go golf every weekend, you know who you are. They're out there. You're right. But around a golf, we get it. Golf takes 6 hours, 8 hours.
I'm going to disagree with you
I
on
think
that.
I think a day of that is great. I think the guys that go golfing 3 times a week.
I don't think it's fair
You
for you to
don't?
say that. I
Interesting.
really, no, but think about it.
You might be right.
Think about it. It's not your place or my place to judge what self-care looks like for another person. And this is why I said, I think that it is an individual thing. At the end of the day, you have to be somebody that has enough integrity to admit when it's self-care versus you're avoiding being at home and you just don't like your spouse.
That's what I'm getting at. When you have 3 kids
but this
and
is
they're
the thing.
babies.
But this is the thing. Like you have to be honest with yourself about whether it is a form of self-care or not. And truly, maybe if somebody is in a miserable relationship and getting out of the house is not being in the home that they don't want to be in that home, maybe that is the only form of self-care somebody can muster up at that moment because they don't want to be in that environment. And I'm not saying that that's healthy, but sometimes if you live in a toxic, negative environment, it could be male or female, you're doing what you can to get out of there. I'm not saying that that is a healthy way of dealing with it, but I think that self-care looks like different things for different people. And I think that this is a really good moment for everybody to look at what self-care is for them. And I think that like you do that, at least for me, I sat down and I just took a pen. I'm like, what does self-care look like for me? And it was like bath.
Great.
Massage.
Yeah.
I right away. And I was like, I do those things. I do those things. Maybe not as often as I could do those
Right.
things, but I'm also not going to get a massage every day and I'm not going to take a bath every day. Right. So what would be a frequency for me? Another question. How often do I need to do these things to feel recharged? That's what
Do you have an answer to that?
I would say, well, I think it's on a case by case basis. It's like, do I feel like doing that? You know, yesterday is a really great example of that. I don't know what we had planned yesterday morning. Something was going on. And then last minute I changed plans and I'm like, do you want to go for breakfast? Do you want to go for brunch? I didn't want to do anything. Yesterday was a moment where I was like, I don't want to do anything. I just want to spend time together. That filled my cup. That was a form of self-care because we could have cut the grass. We could have worked on the podcast. We could have done a million things, but it was like, no, like we are going to take time. By we, yes, it's both of us. But for me, that was my way of going, Kristel, give yourself what you need right now. And this is what I needed. I wanted connection. I wanted time where we didn't have to do anything. And so sure, maybe it was selfish, but that was what I wanted in that moment. I was like, I want to go for brunch. And so I think, like I said, it's going to be every moment is going to be different for every individual. And it's about each of us figuring out what that looks like, what that frequency is, and like, how are we giving that to ourselves? So beyond working out, because we know that that's your thing, how do you, is there any other way that you give yourself self-care?
I like self-time alone, even if it's 10 minutes. I like alone time. That's why I love waking up in the morning. That is part of my self-care, actually. And I didn't realize it until I was prepping, for this conversation. I realized I am so anxious to get out of bed because you know why? I've said this to you before. Even my kids know it. First of all, I get a good night's sleep. That's critical. I wake up naturally, and it's usually 6:30, maybe earlier if I get to bed early enough. Waking up in the morning is so surreal for me. It is quiet. I'm not, you know me, I don't pick up my phone in the morning. I couldn't give a shit about what's going on and like I used to. That's a great thing. I don't pick up my phone. I don't like blue light. Topic for Kirk Parsley and the rest of the crew. But I think that it's almost meditative for me. It's quiet. Cars are not passing in the street. The sun is barely, it's beginning morning, nautical twilight, as we say in the Navy. I love that portion of the day. The quiet mornings are meditative. I start my day on a good note, right? Recently my task was to try to read the Bible, and I haven't been very good at it, but that was going to be my 10 verses because I just want to read. I'm just curious. I never read the Bible cover to cover, and it's kind of the goal I have, but the mornings are critical. So to answer your question, yes, that's the other part of my day, and that's non-negotiable. You know what I like to do when I get up? I'm barefoot. I go outside. I ground. I get that early morning sunlight in my eyes. Critical. Like these little things that I again, talked to Kirk about the other day. I don't want to be a zealot about it, so I don't really push it on people. I've told you a million times, how important that I think that is, to just earth and be ready to go for that. That sets my day. And then whatever else comes up during the day, I know that at least I did that in the morning, right? So I start my day. I control my day, and that's very important to me.
Yep.
And I think that is self-care in and of itself.
But see, that's a really good point, because self-care doesn't always mean that it's a designated thing and it's on a weekend or it's at a specific time every day. Sometimes self-care is just acknowledging throughout the day when you need something, when you need a moment. You could be frustrated at work or frustrated with an interaction. Sometimes self-care is just taking a minute to remove yourself from whatever it is that you're experiencing so that you can bring your levels down. That is a part of self-care. Because, I mean, you're talking about it. You're literally saying, I go out in the middle of my day and I take 10 minutes and that's self-care.
In the morning.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, whenever you're stopping and you're giving yourself what you need, that is a form of self-care.
I agree.
It doesn't have to happen first thing in the morning. It doesn't have to happen at the end of your day. Self-care can be at any given moment throughout the day. I think self-care, really, if you were to take it down to the like foundation of what it means, it's being in tune with yourself so that when something happens and when you feel that temperature rising, you have the ability to recognize it and that you can pull back and give yourself what you need in any given moment.
Right.
So self-care is maybe not what we've always thought it is, where it's like, I have to do this specific thing. It's really being in tune with yourself and listening to what it is that you need so that you can give yourself what you need. And I think too, like this is something also with this specific podcast, we're talking about this, and I'm thinking about how it relates to couples. I think a really important part, especially in a relationship, is recognizing where your partner maybe has a bit of a deficit. Like this evening, for example, you said to me, we're going to do this, and then we're going to relax, and you're going to take a break. And I was like, I needed that because there's a lot of things to do. I'm headed off on a plane tomorrow, so there's lots happening, and I keep thinking about all the things I want to do. And I was like, you know what? He's right. Tonight needs to just be relaxed. Like everything else can wait, and I don't need to do anything.
We're nonstop work all day long. Although we got great. We probably burned 1,000 calories today. Was one of my favorite days when we do that. We worked out and then went an hour and a half walk.
But joyful, like for me, the funny thing, like cutting the grass is, I mean, we have a decent sized yard here in Texas. So when you cut the grass, it's not a light task, but
no, it's a chore.
What did I say? I'm like, I want to cut the grass today. It's a workout for me because I enjoy doing that. When I cut the grass, I'm burning calories.
It's the only reason why I let you cut the grass, by the way. Truth be told.
I know.
I did half, you did half.
I know.
I don't just make her go cut the grass. This doesn't happen.
But do you see what I'm saying? Like that is joyful for me. I'm out in nature. It doesn't feel, to me, that doesn't feel like a workout.
Yeah, it's great.
Yet after an hour of pushing a mower and like you're tired, what did you say to me? You're going to sleep great tonight. It's a lot of work, but I enjoyed doing that. So when we can find joy in things that somebody else may see as a task, someone else hates cutting the grass. Someone else does not want to cut the grass. For me, that was enjoyable. Odd, but it was. So that's why I don't think you can sit and look at any specific thing and say, you have to do X, Y, and Z in order to be taking care of yourself. It's really about understanding what do you need and what does that look like for you. So,
yeah. What's the advice to couples though? What's our advice through lessons learned? Let's just say they're a martyr. They give and give and give until they can give no more, and they haven't left time for themselves. I know my answer is you got to discipline, right? And how do I define discipline? Constant behavior, chunks after little chunks of positive behavior over time. Mm-hmm. Easy to say when you're a retired Navy SEAL. Okay.
Sure.
A lot easier for me to frame that. What's your advice to women because I think most women will fall in the martyr category. Okay. Where good wife, good mom equals I'm doing my job, but that's not giving themselves any self-care. I think if they think they're fulfilling that, they're checking the block. Meanwhile, their tank is going down.
Right.
What's the advice as a woman?
So, well, first, when I heard you say that, I do think you're right. It could be women. It goes across the board. I just think the
majority are martyrs.
Sure. But I'm just saying men or women, I think it's the same advice. And I do think that sometimes we have to break things down into small little bite-sized chunks for people because you do operate in extremes. That is just how you've always been, and you're very good at implementing something and doing it strong right from the get-go. But to me, it's about small little things that you can do. So what's one small step to get from, like I said, point A to Z? There's a whole bunch of things that have to happen in between. But what can you focus on? What is one little thing that you can focus on? Don't think about being like some destination of where you want to be, because the moment that you fail at achieving whatever it is you think you need to achieve, already you've lost. So whatever your situation is, if you feel like you're not taking time, I think you have to stop and ask yourself the question, what would make me feel good right now? What is something little that I can do that would make me feel good? I remember the first time when I was trying to figure out what I needed, literally the first thing, I thought it was going to be something incredible. The first thing I heard my like inner self say to me was rest. You need rest. And it was literally taking a nap. That was self-care for me. And I think a lot of moms will identify with that. If you are working your butt off and you are doing everything for everyone, the thing that you need to do is go and take a nap.
Yeah, because when your tank is empty, you can't show up.
Because you're
for everybody.
exhausted.
You can't show up.
And so, and it was so funny because to me, like I literally thought self-care was going to be some great thing. It was going to be like, go out and do something. It wasn't. It was slowing down and taking a nap. And so it's funny because I said this in the last episode, same thing. Like for me, it's rest. Rest for me is self-care. And so rest looks like different things. So for other people, I think it's the same thing. Stop and ask yourself that one question. If I was going to take care of myself right now, what would that look like to me? And then once you know what that is, then you can take it a step further and say, okay, now that I know what that is, how would I integrate that into my day so that I'm giving myself that on a regular basis or as often as I need it to feel like I'm taking care of myself, and let go of the guilt, because I know it's easier said than done.
That's it right there.
I know it's easier said than done, but at the end of the day, you have to take that time for yourself. You do have to take that time for yourself.
So how do you let go of the guilt? Because I have the recommendation.
So for me, it's really about giving yourself permission. It has nothing to do with anyone else. Sure, there's going to be situations where there's going to be situations where you feel that it's external, that is coming from other people. But I think often it's just we're not giving ourselves permission to do whatever it is that we need to. And so you just have to get to a point where you're like, I deserve this. What I've been doing is not working for me. And I need to take some time for me. Right. Because if I don't, it's the whole like put the oxygen mask on yourself before helping others. You do need to take care of yourself. Right. I do agree with that. There's no question about that.
Right. 100% with you. With you nailed it. Like you got to stop being guilty. And how do you do that? I'll tell you how you do it. And this is my recommendation for everybody. Communication is the key. When isn't it not the key, right? When is it not the key? Communication is the key. And I'll tell you, you have to tell your partner, this is what I need. Those are the words. Yeah. Not this. So I was about to talk about the permission seeker. That's the other one, right? Martyr or permission seeker. Permission seeker is asking, honey, can I go for a run? Both of those, martyr and permission seeker, asking in that way lead to guilt and resentment because you're asking permission for something that you know you need.
Right.
So my point for both of those types are, let the partner know, I need this. Mm-hmm. I think that's important. Yeah. The way we phrase it, you tell me all the time, words matter. And I think that's important. Yeah. And I will tell you, you're amazing because you're probably one of the few people, at least in my prior relationship, I obviously did not have this. The control was unbelievable, but you are very good at, you know what I need. My partner, as my partner and wife, you already know what I need. You knew it when you met me. You knew I was a freak of nature. And it's like, I eat ribeyes on a plane. So you knew that's what I needed, and you give it to me. And I was guilty for the first part of this marriage. I went, there's no way that she's like okay with it. I was struggling with my past
projecting. You were just projecting.
Well, it wasn't projecting. It was the way that it was handled in the past. It was always like I was made to feel guilty for wanting that lifestyle and taking time for myself. Right. That's a disaster, right? And this is my point, and this is the lesson learned. But you're very good at you figured out this is what I need. And now I tell you, babe, this is what I need.
See, and I think that that's also an important part, because just prior to this, you had said it's communicating to the other person. But another part of that is, what do you do in a relationship where you communicate your needs and your needs are not received? And there's unfortunately a lot of people that do fall into that category
Yeah.
where somebody is not going to respect what your needs are. And that becomes a whole nother thought process and conversation in and of itself, because you need to decide, is this really working for you? But I think in a healthy relationship, the moment that you express that need and you tell your partner, like, I need this for me, somebody that is loving and understanding and caring, they are going to be there to receive that
Right.
and say, you know what, like, this person needs this. I remember there were times where when we were going through everything, we were going through the bankruptcy and the move and all the things that were going on. And you had that ski trip that you would go on every year. And you said, I wasn't going to go. I'm not going to go on it. And I was like, you need this now more than ever.
Yeah, it's a perfect example of
know?
a partner supporting what she knows.
But that's
Yeah.
the thing. Like, and I think that when you're in, I mean, we've all been in negative relationships at one point or another, but when you're in a healthy relationship, there isn't that need to control. There's a trust, and you just know that your partner, the last thing I want to see is you in a place where you're not doing well mentally. And if that means going away and doing whatever you need to do to fill your cup, that's really important to me. I think that I don't ask for that, but I think that if the same like situation came up, you would say the same to me.
Yeah.
Go do whatever you want to do.
I need you to ask more, because I want to reciprocate, and I'm always like waiting. I actually feel like I'm waiting for you to massage. I love when you go for massage. I think
So do I.
it makes me happy, because I know that is self-care for you. God forbid you wanted to go for a walk with your kids, or I think that in a way that's self-care, especially the kids are adults. So yeah, that's self-care for you. So I get excited about that. And I wish you would do more of it. It's the swim buddy, the swim buddy mantra. It lives behind all of this. And I told you earlier, a swim buddy isn't there to drown with the other swim buddy. The swim buddy is there to pick up the swim buddy, and the whole goal is to make it to the target, right? That is the goal. As a couple, it's this: make it to the end, make it all the way, live every day the best you can.
Right.
And so, yeah, there's so many overlays to the teams.
But look, the better that you understand your partner, the better you understand the person that you're with, the better you can support them, right? So we've now had this conversation probably more in depth than we ever have before. And I think you've heard me say things maybe in different ways that I haven't said them before. And we know my struggle is working out. It's not enjoyable. So then it becomes, okay, how can I support my wife now in a way that if she has, like whatever it might be, this lack of desire to do that, how can this be enjoyable for her? How can I support her in that? And then the same thing vice versa, like if it's the emotional part or wherever you feel that you maybe are less strong, how do I support you in that, And I think the better that we understand one another, the more that we can support one another in taking the time that we need to for ourselves. And I think probably I actually have encouraged you in that area to do things, when things are frustrating for you, to stop and take a minute to go and get clear on whatever this is,
You're really good at that.
But I think that is a key piece of this. So first is understanding ourselves, because once we understand ourselves, we can then communicate it to the other person. And it's really about me understanding your needs and you understanding mine, so that we can support each other
And communicating it
in that process. Right.
Honey,
but you
I
can't
need
communicate it until you are clear on
Correct.
on
Yeah.
what your needs are. So
Yeah.
the first step is seeking clarity on what self-care looks like for me, for you, and for everyone individually.
Right.
And
Define.
then
That's the advice to couples. Number
define
one,
it.
define what self-care
Define
is.
what it looks like
Right.
to you.
Self-care equals mission readiness, right? I apply everything to where I came from. And it's so applicable to couples. I think everybody should go, the entire world should go the buds. That's what I think at the end of this. Self-care equals mission readiness. We wouldn't deploy if we weren't ready. Same thing in a marriage. You're not going to show up for the marriage ready to go 100% unless you're taking care of yourself, unless you are getting your needs met, right? Self-care wise. There's no sense. You've seen me. You've probably seen the one day that I didn't work out because I couldn't, for whatever reason, I got too busy or there was some excuse, but it does happen from time to time. Again, I'm talking about one day, but it matters to me because I define my day by at least getting out and moving. That is super important. And you've seen my energy change. And so I wouldn't deploy. Wouldn't deploy as a SEAL team if we weren't ready, right? We wouldn't leave our gear at home for a mission that we needed the gear for because we won't be ready. Like I just think it's so important in a marriage. The analogy is, it's unbelievable. The comparison between the two, because it's so important to be ready. Our days are better when I've taken care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
They're just better. And would you disagree?
Well, I think that there's definitely I wouldn't disagree with that. I would just say I think there's a lightness to our days when we do take care of ourselves and we're more carefree. But again, it's also balancing, like there's certain things that we can't offload. It's life, you have responsibility, you have things you got to do. So it really is about finding a way to integrate that in a way that makes sense. But no, there's no question about it that,
Right.
Life is better when you are taking care of
I guess
yourself.
the better way to say it is self-care is a deposit on your marriage, not a withdrawal, right? We're not taking away. I think self-care, when done right, and done with the right intention and with the communication between partners, is a deposit into the marriage.
Always.
Not a withdrawal.
Always. Yeah. I would agree with that. Definitely would agree with that. Any final thoughts on self-care?
Well, I think this is the lesson learned. Like, I think it's worth a conversation in a marriage or in a partnership, girlfriend, boyfriend, doesn't really matter. I think it's one of those things you talk about. How do you it's what we talked about the other day. I said, what do you do for fun when we first met? Remember that? Right.
Rest. That was my form of self-care, was rest. And it's funny because I brought it up again today and I had forgotten about that. Like I knew that came from somewhere, but I'd forgotten where it came from. And it was that initial experience of when I was trying to figure out like, how do I take care of myself? And I literally asked myself, what do I need? I need rest.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that, if that's what it looks like to somebody, then that's what you need. It doesn't mean that you're lazy or complacent. Each person is going to have a different thing. Listen to what your inner voice is telling you, because there is something there. It's not by fault that you have something inside of you that's calling you to something.
Right.
And maybe, you know what, maybe it would mean that self-care would morph and look like something else if there was a slower pace of life. Maybe when kids are out of the house and, like we're not working as hard as we are right now, maybe self-care ends up looking like golf or other, that this is the community we live in.
I guess I was pretty hard on the golfers, but you're right. To a point, to your point, I can see that is self-care because, that's their time away for whatever reason. I guess I was going to the excessive golfers because that's a whole nother case, but yeah, I think the playbook for everybody should look like, number one, name the need.
Right.
Actually name the need. Say to the partner, both people in the partnership have to drop the guilt completely. Right.
Support the other in what they're asking for.
Yep. Support the other, drop the guilt and resentment. It's not important. Time away is not meant to be guilty. It's actually an investment. It's an investment in the marriage. Self-care equals an investment in the marriage. It will only make it better. And then one of the other most important things is schedule it. Schedule it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't schedule it, you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the discipline comes in. That's where those little chunks and change of behavior come in. I think schedule it.
And also to add to scheduling, because I think scheduling is important in the beginning if it's some specific action that you want to take. But also, as we mentioned earlier, that self-care is also about self-regulating as your day progresses. So if you recognize in a moment that something is happening and you hear yourself saying, I need this right now, listen to what that voice is saying so that you can give yourself, maybe it's a negative interaction, whatever, and you need 5 minutes to step away. That is a form of self-care. So listen to what your inner voice is saying and realize that beyond scheduling, it's also about acting on it as things are coming up.
Yep. And I think the final piece in the playbook is check in. Check in on the other person. Don't check up, check in.
Yeah.
And see, hey, are you doing the self-care things that you need to do?
Right.
Are you getting your tank full?
I think that's a really great question. And I think that that's somewhere that we probably could be better with one another. You're already good at doing a lot of the things, but I'm sure that if I asked you and said, hey, like, do you need anything right now? You've been busy with this. Could you take some time off or do something for yourself right now? Both of us would benefit from that.
Yep.
So.
Yep. I think those are the 5 things to do on the playbook. And if you put those into action and make it part of your conversation, you're going to be a stronger couple, and you're going to support your swim buddy like we always do.
Yeah. All right. So how are we going to take care of ourselves this evening?
This evening, I already laid out the playbook for us tonight. I gave the scheduling. We're going to
Dinner.
wrap this up. We're going to have a couple ribeyes, and we're going to get our carnivore on, and we've got a little bit of podcast work to do, and then we're taking the night off. We're resting. So we're going to knock that out.
It's hard to say I'm not going to do anything, but I'm not going to do anything.
That's right. That's right. You got to stick to it and check in. So
scheduled.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think self-care is important. I think this was a great chat, as always, with my babe. Would be remiss. It just so happens we're filming this on the anniversary of Charlie Keating IV's
That's right.
death. For those of you who don't, Chuck Heavy. Chuck Keating IV was a Navy SEAL, passed away in Iraq, just north of Erbil, May 3rd, 2016. So the 10-year anniversary. We posted online on Instagram. We threw up a post honoring Charlie and the C4 Foundation. Please go to C4. What is it, babe? C4.
C4foundation.org.
C4foundation.org or ertert.com from our last episode with the great Ian Ertnowski. Go to his website, grab a 10-year anniversary piece for Charlie. He's got some great stuff out on ertert.com. If you're in Coronado, go visit the store. Please say hello. Tell him you saw him on the Fourth Phase podcast. It's because I said with Ian Ertnowski when I sat and had that powerful podcast, you're never truly gone until you're forgotten. So let's not forget. And that doesn't discount any other team guy that's passed away. Support anybody that you know. Support anybody that's passed away. Because I say it for my mom. Kristel says it for her parents. Look, you're never truly gone until you're forgotten. So if you're not forgotten, you're not gone, right? Memory lives on. Don't forget, like and subscribe to the podcast. Find us at the Fourth Phase Podcast at all the platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. Go to YouTube, mash that subscribe button. We want to hear from you. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.